Yeah, I was saying that we have 30 minutes for your presentation, so about half the time for presentation and half the time for the questions that any of the panel may have.
Okay, I don't
Thank
know
you
that
so
it'll
much.
even take me half my time for my presentation, but I do want to introduce, I'm Sherry Anderson, I'm the treasurer, and this is Brian Nava. He is our internal auditor, and he is also the treasurer-elect. So next year, he'll be sitting in my spot.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and he'll get to talk here in a minute. We'll go ahead and, oh, here's my thing. Go through the slides.
Thank you.
Okay, the department mission, same as it has been. I didn't really talk much about internal audit in this. It is a very important part of the treasurer's office operations, but we can talk further about that in the discussion. This is my favorite slide of my whole packet. Treasurer. I think we could probably split that maybe in internal audit and treasury in the future, but I know this is very, very important. Our 3-year trend, this has to do with our budget request. You can see that we're fairly static in our budget. The middle year, the 2017-18 is because we moved in that year, so there were some additional expenses because of our new office facility, but it's been pretty static. It's a very exciting pie chart. Again, we have a lot going on here. We have general fund support, and then we do have a slight charge for services. This is an investment fee that we charge people on our portfolio. And I do have some portfolio information if anyone is interested. I think what I found interesting when I ran this today is our portfolio as of the end of May is $435 million. So that's the portfolio that the treasurer's office manages for the county. And that's probably a pretty significant increase over last year. I should have run last year compared to this year. So we do have more cash assets that are sitting in various investments and banking vehicles this year over last. And then again, you didn't give me the line. My favorite also is the line that shows just a flat line for my staff. The only time I've had an increase is when Brian started 3 years ago, and that bumped me up to 6. Before that, I was 5 for about, 30 years. So, again, a very exciting chart.
All goes one place, doesn't it?
hard to make those charts, right?
Yeah.
One big blue dot.
I'm sorry. I wish I could make these more interesting.
Oh, but you're making them humorous. That's good.
Yeah.
Use a little of that right now.
Okay, key results. Again, you can see that investment rate has gone up. We are seeing an upward tick in our investments. The local government investment pool, which is the state treasurer runs a pool for local governments to invest in, it is now paying 2.1%. So that is a significant increase over last year. And we had numerous years where we were lucky if we were making 0.5%. So we're really seeing our investment yields go up. Year to date, it's about 1.79 year to date. So we've met our target. And I would expect those to continue to go up. I'd see no indication in the market that yields are going to start going down. What happens, though, is because we go out a 3-year term on our investments, it sometimes takes us a little bit of time to catch up to the state treasurer's pool. It's very liquid, and they can invest in foreign investments and do all sorts of sexy stuff that we can't do. But sometimes it takes us a while to get rid of some of the lower performing investments because we generally buy and hold. We don't look to be making money on selling things, and that's just not our philosophy. So it could take us a bit to pull out of this, but hopefully, you will see yields. When I first started 20 years ago, we were making 6%. So I don't know that those days will ever come back. Banking deposits and reconciliations, that's one of our key results for us, is that we make sure that all of our bank accounts, which we have 13 of them, are reconciled within 30 days of receiving the statement. Our tax distributions in accordance with Oregon statute. We have very specific statutory requirements for how soon we have to get those distributions sent out to the taxing districts, and we comply with that. And then internal audit relevancy and productivity. Brian can talk a little bit about what we have on the schedule for next year and what we completed last year. We have not implemented performance clackamas. I made a decision along with Brian and Nancy Wilson in my office to delay that until after Brian takes office, because it didn't seem fair for me to force that going and then leave. So it'll be something that they'll be doing, maybe not his first year, but we'll see. He'll get to decide next year what he's doing. And then emerging issues, again, Brian will take office in January of 2019. I've been the treasurer for 20 years, so that will present some changes. The increasing role of internal audit and future staffing needs, I think at some point in the near future that is going to have to be addressed. Brian is an office of one, and luckily with him becoming treasurer, he will probably want to hold on to some of those duties that he had as internal auditor. And then he will look to hire an internal auditor that fits the skill set that he feels that he needs for that position. But I, and Brian, I think would agree, in the future, there will be probably a secondary internal audit, an audit staff member needed if we continue to do the audits that we do and want to expand the scope of some of those audits. We have to really limit the size of the audits that we do because it's just Brian. So, and then one of the challenges that we face every year is technology is moving. There's a lot of technology changes in banking. We are a big dinosaur when it comes to moving those kinds of things. It's difficult. We have departments constantly that are saying, and in fact, one of the counties was just asking because one of their public health department wanted to do a GoFundMe page for something that they were doing. So we're constantly being asked about doing these kinds of things, using different technology, using iPads for taking credit cards. And it's just, it's something we need to be looking at, but also departments in the county have to understand that we have about 38 merchant accounts. So it's not always easy for us to say, oh yeah, you go do a GoFundMe and you use PayPal or you use, because there's just so many and what we do is so big. It would work fine if it was just one department, but I think that is going to be an increasing area of angst with some of the departments. And so we want to make sure that we can move forward with some enhancements to that as they become available. And that's it. So.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Mr. Magdalene?
You mentioned on the internal audits, I'd like a feel from Brian or yourself as to how staff reacts to the prospect of an audit, the level of cooperation, and then you talked about the limited scope. For an organization our size, do you have an opinion as to how much internal audit work should be done relative to what is being done?
Go ahead.
Sure. No, those are great questions. So first one was the level of cooperation. I think it's been very well received throughout the county. And that's probably a testament to the way we structured the internal audit function. So currently day-to-day operations, the internal auditor reports to the Clackamas County Treasurer. But quarterly, we report to an internal audit oversight committee. So that's the county administrator, the county council, the treasurer, and then Board of County Commissioner, currently Chair Bernard, who's also on the external audit oversight committee. So the tone at the top's been very good, which I think gives it that credibility to ensure that the level of cooperation is appropriate. So generally, I mean, people obviously have some apprehension when you hear audit, but overall, the cooperation's been good, especially after we're able to kind of work through an entrance conference meeting and things of that nature. We did a comparison, and actually the ALGA, Association of Local Government Auditors, is a big advocate for internal audit functions. I don't have those stats on me, but like Washington County has 3 internal audit staff. I think Multnomah is closer to 10. City of Portland's at 12. Then you go out to Deschutes has 1 auditor. Lane County has 1, and I'm not sure where Marion County's at. So you know, you kind of start in the Portland metro area where you see the biggest audit shops, and then you kind of creep out. One of the bigger challenges we have, just as an example, I've really wanted to do like a housing audit. And I went to Steve March is the Multnomah County Internal Auditor, and he had completed one about 2 years ago. he had 4 staff working on that audit so that they could get it done in 6 months. So the challenge we always have is trying to scope an audit size appropriate so that we're not working on it for, I try and keep them around no
whole
more than
year.
6 months. Usually it's about 3 to 6, but keep it no more than that 6-month area. So we're really shaping and scoping those audits kind of accordingly with the staff and resources available, which at this point is just me, so.
But then, based on what you said, I can't quite say, would you recommend additions to the staff, internal audit staff, or internal projects?
Absolutely. And we had, I believe, discussed that a couple of years ago, and we'll continue to bring up that discussion because it's, especially with, just for statistics, I mean, we've had Ethics Point, which is our fraud, waste, and abuse reporting hotline, around since 2006, I think. And so, from 2012, fiscal year 2012 to fiscal year 14, we had about 3 or 2 calls a year. Then since the internal audit function's been in place, in fiscal year 16, we had 14 calls, 17, 26 calls, and through April this year, we have 17. And then since internal audit has started, we've received 29 direct tips, referrals by other departments, or incidents to other engagements related to fraud, waste, and abuse. And I will acknowledge some of those are food stamp frauds and things of that nature. So we do receive those frequently, and we'll forward those onto the Department of Human Services, who has better resources to be able to research those. But we're seeing an increase, and I believe I've been listening to a few of the presentations as much as I can, and I listened to county councils, and he did a great job of discussing how we're going to create that landing page for HR and fraud, waste, and abuse complaints. I know county administration's been doing a good job in working on that. We've been working with PGA. I anticipate that our hotline will increase significantly as a result of getting that landing page, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just means there's going to be more time away from doing some of our audit work. It's going to be spent on researching those hotline complaints or concerns.
So when would you make additions if you had your wish?
Right now, today, you guys can pass it. Let's do it.
Quiet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Careful what doors you open down there.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, we thank you very much for your
Oh,
presentation.
that was easy.
Very concise, and all those departments I know are hard to, keep together.
A big circle.
So, thank you very much.